Hi everybody, this is Sabrina. Thank you so much for joining me today for my very first YouTube tutorial. And I'm so excited to show you two cards I've made using the Stampin' Up! Embossing paste as well as a gold foil. I used the Deco Foil by iCraft in the champagne color. You of course can choose whatever color fits your project. And I also used a heat laminator. Now if you have a Mink machine, go ahead and use that. It's made for it, but a laminator just works great. You also need a stencil, the embossing paste, and a spatula. For the sentiment, I used a happy birthday stamp from this gorgeous hostess stamp set called In the City. And I stamped it in soft suede because my card base is going to be soft suede and my card front is crumb cake. Now for my stencil, I wanted to have a defined circle of embossing paste on my project. So what I did was I had a piece of acetate and die cut a circle using the stitched frames, and then I adhered the stencil from the backside to the acetate, so I have kind of a mask that masks off the area I want to have my embossing paste on, so I can have a defined edge. And now you have to apply the embossing paste using your spatula, and you have to keep in mind that you only need a little bit because that embossing paste goes a long way, and you can even take the excess off and put it back in a little jar. And here you can see I have an almost perfect circle. What's also really important is to clean off your tools right after you use it, because once the embossing paste dries, it just will not come off. So I wanted a little hooray on the front of my card, so I decided to take the Lovely Words die set. I think in the English version it says hugs or so, and I cut it out twice with my Big Shot using soft suede cardstock. And the next step, do not do that. Like, I left it in the video to tell you to not heat set the embossing paste, because mine was not quite dry, so I used my heat gun applying heat to it to speed up the drying process, but it was not a good idea, and I'll show you in a little bit. Right now we're gonna foil the pieces like I haven't done any mistakes, pretend everything is nice and how it should be. So I took my card fronts, laid it on a little carrier sheet, just like made it out of regular typing paper, folded it in half so nothing slides off. And the important part is to keep the pretty side up of the foil. So you have to lay the foil down with the silver side touching the card front. And then you just stick it to into your laminator, which I had it running for like 15 minutes or so to get it really nice and hot. And here is where I realized heat setting it was not a really good idea. So when I peeled off the foil, I saw what happened. Like, there were parts of the embossing paste that were still white, which means the foil didn't stick to the embossing paste. So that was like, bummer. So I was like, okay, I have nothing really to cover it up, like no die cut or anything. So what do? I can't fix it, so I'm gonna make two new card fronts. And I actually did that. I let it dry during lunch, so you can see the comparison, like it's so shiny and so perfect foiled. But it also means that I have to stamp my sentiment again, which is not a big deal because everything was still mounted on. And then I adhered the pretty card front to my base card, which is soft suede. And then I realized, there is a little something missing, so I just had a scrap piece of crumb cake and I covered it using the sticky tape and peeled the release paper off and used the leftover foil here to just make the foil stick to the little piece of cardstock. That's another way how you can apply foil, or if you just want to stripe foil, you don't have to use the laminator. And then I just cut two rectangles out of that little stripe and used the Tombow liquid glue to just slide it under my card front and adhere it. So I could not let go of those two not so pretty card fronts. And I'm like, what do I do? I really do not want to throw it away. So I decided to punch out two circles, and here you see me having a little trouble with my 2-inch circle punch. But I punched out one circle with a 2-inch circle punch, and with the stitched shapes, I think it's the second largest circle or so. And I wanted to use those two circles on a card. And the base card is, oh god, how you call it? Tranquil Tide, I think. And my card front is gonna be the vanilla cardstock. And I stamped my sentiment on there using the Tranquil Tide ink pad just to match my base card. Then I decided I wanted a few flowers on my project, so I used the gorgeous stamp set, Oh So Eclectic, and the outside flower stamp, and stamped it onto a piece of vanilla cardstock using the espresso ink. I just thought the black ink would be a little too harsh for the outlines. And then I tried Berry Burst, but I decided it's like a little too dark. So I came up with the powdered pink ink pad actually, and used a little sponge to dab a little bit of the Berry Burst onto the stamp, and that just gives it a little more depth. And I don't know, it just makes my heart feel great about the image. And then I cut out the flowers using my scissors. They do have matching framelits with the stamp set, but I don't have that. And now we can assemble the card. I just glued the card front flat to my card base and used the Tombow glue to adhere my fold circle. And I used the cutout flower and a little, what would you call it? I guess leaf out of vellum and gold thread to make a little embellishment piece for my card front. For the second card front, I had two flowers left, so I adhered them on a circle cut out of vellum. And I thought I would be done, and when I placed it over it, I'm like, you know what, there's still like a little thing missing. So I grabbed the gold thread again and just assembled the card. And here you can see how beautiful that gold foiling is. It's just gorgeous. So of course we have to finish up the other card, and I still had the hooray left, so I took a little strip of vellum, cut it into a banner shape, and adhered the hooray on top of it, and then I took everything and glued it onto my card front with glue dots. And for the last finishing touches, I used my clear Wink of Stella and went over the hooray. And there you can see the card finished up. And when I tilt it into the light, you can see that gorgeous, gorgeous gold foiling piece. It's just stunning. You really have to give it a try. Well, that was my video. Thank you so much for watching it, and I hope you could understand my English as far as following the tutorial. Again, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.